Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to episode 5 of the breakdown series. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on notification so you never miss any of the hits. Now, let's turn some layers into magic. Let's go. Before we jump in, I just want to let you guys know that my Patreon is live. If you want access to all my best PSDs at super affordable prices, this is the place to be. There are 3 membership tiers: the bronze tier, which goes for $5, the silver tier, $8, and the championship tier for $15 a month. If you're looking to step up your designs or save time on your own project, check it out. The link is in the description. To begin with, the most important thing, like I say for all my videos, is basically getting a concept and a background. So let's start with the background. So for the background, I had this idea of going with the Legia home stadium on the internet to look for the Legia home stadium, right? So let me show you the original photo. This was the original photo without this, right? But I didn't want to get this whole stadium here. So what I did was I used generative fill to cover it to make it look like the sky. So if you go back into this, you can see this is I was going with the full sky with the stadium below, which looked really cool in my opinion. Then I basically did a sky replacement. So to do a sky replacement is quite simple. You go to image, I think it's edit, then sky replacement. Once you click on sky replacement, it's going to give you options that you can use to change the sky. It will basically crop it out and you have a lot of options if you want to change the sky. This is the sky I basically went for. I really like the sky and the cloud, and so I basically went with this, and I added my levels just to make it darker, because you always know you have to add some smoke and some lightning, and because it always makes it look really nice. So I added some camera flares at the background, just a little bit of effect. And the first player I put there was Cole Palmer. I just started with my normal camera raw, right? Before and after, right? Then I added a gradient. So this is the gradient I added. I put it on soft light, fill 42, and I basically painted on it. So I'll be uploading a speed art on my Patreon. So check my Patreon out and you can see how I did all this retouch. So we have the hue. The hue for this part was basically for the eyes and the teeth, right? The hue was for the eyes and the teeth. Curves for the eyes, and I basically did the brightness for the eyes as well. And I also did the retouching, right? Brightness for all the bright part, and I did curves for all the dark part, right? So to turn it off, to do this, you go to adjustment, brightness, right? Then from brightness, you basically increase it. Then control I, you invert it. You pick a brush, flow on like 2-3%. You make the hardness 0, and you basically paint on the bright part, right? You paint on the bright part and you will basically have that effect. So let me turn this off and turn mine on. Turn the curves on. The same thing for the curves as well. Selective colors just to bring the red and yellowish up a bit. Channels, and added basically levels, because I was going to add lightning to it, right? But I'm not going to add the lightning now, so unless I give you the point of lights. So the next thing I added was the trophy, right? So to get into the trophy, I found this Conference League trophy that I basically did, and I added the lightning for this. Then the next player I added was Tosin Adebayo. I always struggle pronouncing his name, but the same thing. I added the generative, the camera raw, right? And added the gradient map. Then hue and saturation for the eyes, you can see before, after. Then brightness for the eyes, and the same thing, brightness for the bright parts. The same thing, levels for the dark parts. Then exposure again to darken it, and I basically did the lightening, right? Again, I'm not going to show the lightening on this player, but let's just get into it. So before I did the Marc Cucurella one, I changed the grass here. So this is the before and the after. So it will give you the vibe of him stepping on the grass, right? Which I feel was really, really important. Then before I add the Marc Cucurella, I added Trevor Chalobah, basically in the background, and more of like a background player. It really gives that nice effect to it, right? So if you go into it, the same thing, brightness, right? And I really didn't do much on him because he was really a small part of the work. Then I did the lightening again. I'm not going to show you the lightening now. Let's just show you the composition. Then Marc Cucurella. Started with the shadows. Marc Cucurella. And for Marc Cucurella, what I did was I changed the ball because there was a FA Cup ball here. So I found a Conference League ball. And I basically replaced it with it, just to give it that Conference League vibe. Then added the shadows on the feet. I added gradient map before, after. I added the hue and saturation. I added the brightness, and I added what we always do, the brightness and the bright parts. And I made it dark to prepare it for the lightning. Again, I'm not going to start the lightning now until we have the light source. So this is the light source. So I use the smoke as a point of light source. So this smoke will cast the light on the players. So then I use this grass for a foreground effect, blur it out. And I added the trophy here as well for the little effect. Then this shadow, right? The shadow, just to give it that feel of depth as well. So now let's go and do the lightning. So for the lightning, this is how I do my lightning. So first of all, let's start with the Trevor Chalobah one, the Marc Cucurella one. I add a color fill which is black. I basically lock it, but I set it to screen, right? I set it to screen. Then I add an empty layer. So on this empty layer, you're going to paint with white, right? And you clip a gradient map to it. So the gradient map is supposed to have black on the left, a darker shade of the color you're going to paint with, and a brighter shade of the color as well. So then you just clip this to it. So whenever you paint with white, you get that color, and it gives it that really nice color effect. And this is the lightning I painted, right? So once you do this, you click on the layer and flow on like 1, 2, 3. You can now paint. You see, you can now paint the lightning on the player, right? And it gives it a really cool effect. So now let's do that for Trevor Chalobah. The same thing. See the lightning. So as you can see, the light is coming from the bottom right. So it will cast a shadow on the side of the face and under there. Then who else? Tosin. The same thing. A color fill black. You clip an empty layer, and then the gradient map. Then you paint the lightning on the empty layer. Then we go to the cold Palmer, the coldest guy on the whole world, right? In the whole world. So the same thing, black, screen, empty layer, gradient map, and you paint on the empty layer, right? So this is all the lighting for all the players. And now I basically need to add the details. You can never have a match day without the details. So for the details, I had the Legia logo. I added basically an exposure just to give it that gradient effect. I had a Chelsea logo. I placed it on top because it was a Chelsea poster logo. Sorry, a Chelsea poster. And I basically did the same thing for this as well, right? And I added the time and also the stadium. And then I basically added the Conference League logo at the top there. So once I was done with this, I was basically done with the whole poster. So now I need to do my final touches. I think people that have been following my videos for a long time have an idea of how I do my final touches. I basically do a camera raw, right? So before, after, right? And I do color lookups, then another color lookups to bring the color up. A third color lookup, I think this is 4 color. It gives you that brownish, goldish vibe. Hue and saturation, just to reduce the color a bit more. Selective colors, 1, 2, 3. And I add my texture that I use on all my posters. I add my trademark border, and also add the last texture and my logo. Right? So like I said, this is quite simple to make. The main thing is basically getting your composition right. Once you're able to get your composition right, arrange the players really well, have the idea, then the rest just follows. Again, the highlight is basically a small part of the work. The main part is the composition and coming up with the idea. I spent hours and hours on Pinterest before I came up with this. So don't be afraid if there's no ideas. Just keep on searching and you always get it. Cheers. Thank you for watching.
If we